What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're taking another look at Avowed here on the MSI Claw 8 because we got a big patch for the game today at time of making this video that fixes a lot of crashes this game's been having, including the one on Intel chips and on the Claw that if you turn off ray tracing in settings and restart the game, it'll fatal error out and you can't relaunch the game. So that's all fixed up now. So we're going to go in here and we'll take a look at the settings. We'll come down here and you'll see that I now have ray tracing turned off, and I was able to do that, restart the game, and get it playing without that error anymore. So hopefully this is going to fix it for a majority of people that have had this problem on Intel chips specifically, maybe on the Claw, and maybe even on some other hardware. Now we'll take a quick look at performance. Again, I've covered this game before. You really do need to go more the 800p range on this device, and really all the handhelds lower resolution. It's very GPU heavy, very difficult to run, and still needs a lot of optimization. So even though I booted in at 1200p, I knew that wasn't necessarily going to work out. Even if I switch FSR to performance, which of course isn't going to look that great when being upscaled with performance, it works, and still you're going to be above 30 FPS right here. But if you get into anything combat wise or different areas of the game, you're going to wind up in the 20s easily, and it's going to feel pretty horrible. So for now anyways, 1200p continues to be out of the question as it was with ray tracing. But honestly, on the 8-inch screen, the 800p looks pretty darn good. It might not look great on YouTube or on a blown up screen, but locally on the device it actually fares pretty well, even with the low medium settings, maybe even some higher textures if you want. We do have a little bit more RAM there. But yeah, switching over to the 800p is definitely more doable. Performance not necessary though. I'd say balanced or quality, so you don't quite get such a muddy, horrible image quality. I know it's not the best, but it's kind of what we have to work with here for this game, and being so GPU heavy, FSR does make a big difference on the frame rate. So as we go to quality, we're going to lose a few more, but it is going to look a good bit better here. So it does wind up really being basically the same settings I wound up having to use when I tested it with just the ray tracing when we couldn't turn that off, but we get a little bit higher FPS now without the ray tracing, and it's a good bit smoother. Frame times aren't quite as messy, and we don't get as many skips and jitters and just overall frame drops or spikes that we were getting with ray tracing on. They still happen in this game, not just on this device, but even on my desktops, like even my 4060 Ti, there are hiccups and spikes and things that happen all the time in the frame rate, and I'm sure they're going to continue to patch this game and make it better. But it's just the case pretty much everywhere. Still the case here, but does run much better without RT on now, is a lot smoother most of the time, and does maintain a better frame rate most of the time in combat. It'll still have its dips and stuff like that, but it's not near as bad as what we were experiencing when we had to keep ray tracing on, and before this patch, which in general probably has some other improvements and stability and performance improvements and things like that. But definitely not having this fatal crash error anymore when turning off ray tracing is a big help. You're still going to get lower FPS in your social areas and your cities, villages, places where you have more NPCs and things like that, but overall it still also performed much better than when we had to have ray tracing on. Now, if you did want to take up more settings and not just use the medium draw distance or medium and high textures here, we'll just put on the medium preset for ease. And even if I just do that, it is going to start to bring the frame rate down a bit. Again, GPU heavy, so raising that many things up, not necessarily the greatest thing. Some areas it's going to be fine, but in some it's not, especially when you get into more combat heavy areas or you get like a lot of enemies on screen. You are going to come down under 30 FPS from time to time, so definitely not really worth it. I kind of like just keeping things on low, bringing the view distance or draw distance up, and then going with medium or high on the textures, and the game looks fine on the 8-inch screen that way. But for those that were curious to just put everything up to medium and see how it was doing, this is basically where we were at. It's just not quite as clean or as enjoyable for me anyway. It doesn't feel as good as just the way I had it before with the low and the medium, but still better than what we could do when we had to keep ray tracing on. So anyways, I didn't want to get too crazy here and get into it too deep. I have covered this quite a few times, but since we did get that fixed now today with that patch, I wanted to let you guys know it is working. So try it out, whether it be this device or any Intel chip or any device really that you've had trouble with that error. So anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video as always. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.